So today I'm talking about spirituality, dealing with depression, anxiety, and fear. And one of the things I think about when I look at particularly Christians, it could be anyone actually, is that we believe we should be acting or being a certain way that's outside of being human. We we get upset about so many different things, but because we label ourselves with, say, a devout Christian, Catholic, Muslim, we take a part of reality out that says, wait a minute, yes, that's my belief system while I'm also human. How do I interact spirituality with my humanness? How can I be a spiritual person and struggle through depression or fear and anxiety? Well, I'm going to tell you how, and this is what happens. So, in previous episodes, I've talked to you about the mind and what the mind does. The mind is a place or the seat of the ego that tells us we're better than or less than. And the heart is a place where we also has an intellect where we can reside, and it's a place of objective truth and objective love. And we in previous episodes we talked about 1 Corinthians 13. There's 15 attributes of objective love, and then square of opposition, logic, reason, objective truth. When we're spiritual people, and when we call ourselves spiritual, we desire, we have an intention to want to be closer to God, the universe, a high power, whatever you want to call it. So it can be all the same depending on the philosophy, etc. But nonetheless, we want to have a connection with something outside of ourselves, something greater than ourselves. And when we often identify that connection or that spirituality with something that's already established, there's this human experience where we believe we need to conform, that we have to act it that way, and we can't be honest with ourselves, or we can't really express that I'm having a bad day, I'm feeling bad. So, but this is the reality. When, as a spiritual person, being connected to the universe, being connected to God, a higher power, we are constantly evolving and we're opening ourselves up to the universe, to God, and to the spirit. But we can only connect to our high power, God of the universe, through being human. And being human means I have to also, most importantly, be humble. Now, we spoke about humility before, and humility is being honest with self, others, and higher power, God, universe. The idea of being honest with myself is the basis and power of developing spirituality. And this brings me now to dealing with depression, anxiety, and fear. When we have an experience that's negative, the way we perceive it affects how we feel and affects what we do. So most of the time, our thoughts are governing how we're feeling. So if I'm feeling pressed or sad or having anxiety, the mind's doing that. When we can move into our heart, that place of objective truth and objective love, where it's the sentinel between the spiritual world and the physical world, that's when we connect to God, and that's where our humanity, in its purest way possible, connects to God. But in that humanity, it's also flawed. So now I'm going to get to the part of the anxiety. I'm going to tell you a story. This just happened to me Thursday. So I have a lawsuit. I sued a company, an international company, because they stole 2 of my patents. When I was a monk, I created this business to sustain the monastery and to serve the poor marginalized. And they stole my patent. And when I went live with my product, 2 weeks before I went live, I had front page coverage in an international magazine that was exactly the magazine I need to be in to break into this industry. Anyways, 2 weeks before I was going to launch my 5-ski product, this company launched theirs using my technology, and I lost everything, just about everything. I lost my inability to pay other vendors and so forth. It was really challenging. Anyways, I finally was able to sue them with my attorneys, And this past Thursday, I got a phone call that we have a trial hearing and a date. Wow. I've been waiting for this for 10 years, maybe a little bit longer. And it triggered inside of me much of some of my past. It triggered the pain and the struggle that I went through because of losing almost everything from my monastery because this company stole my patents. I was on the verge of a panic attack. I started to feel less than ego, my ego saying I'm less than. I started to have fear, false evidence appearing real. I started to be fearful of what if, and what if this happens? And just as soon as I found out, I got a phone call from a friend from London who is really positive, speaking, so forth, and he helped me to change the way I was thinking. I ended that phone call. And I had to be still. But I also reached out to a couple more people. I needed to reach out to get my thoughts that are in my head now and these feelings that are inside of here. I need to get them outside so they don't have control over me. So when we're dealing with depression, anxiety, and fear, there's things that we can do that can change our experience. And the first thing is when we're overwhelmed, we're human. We're not supposed to be alone. We need to reach out. I can reach out to at least 3 people. And I found that every time I reached out to another person, I started to feel my brain taking over, my ego saying I'm less than, and all these potential all bad things happening when this was a really good experience. It's a positive movement forward. So I just want to quickly introduce you, because I'm already going over my time. I want to introduce you to a few people that inspire me. And this gentleman, his name is Christian Jarrett. He is a cognitive neuroscientist turned writer, and he's from London. And he has written such articles on the transformational power of how to turn your life, how to talk about your life. So in other words, if I talk about my life as a negative experience, I'm going to continue that negative experience. If I talk about my experience and find the good, the positive in it, and how it changed me and helped me be a better person, my story and the way I talk about my story changes the way I experience life. So now this has everything to do with dealing with depression, anxiety, and fear. There's another gentleman, David Burns, who in 1980, he wrote a book of the New Mood Therapy, and he identified 10 thoughts that we have that contribute to stress. And those, I'll just quickly go over them and you'll get them. All or nothing thinking. When I think in that experience, all or nothing, the world's coming to an end. How can I do this? This is bigger than me. They're international. I'm only one person. All those negative things going through my head on that experience on Thursday that were crushing me. I started to overgeneralize, and I made this, I thought in my mind one negative thing, and the whole experience became negative instead of something that's positive. So David Berg goes through these, I already told you like 2, but there's mental filtering, there's discounting the positive, which you can figure out what that means, jumping to conclusions, magnification, exaggerating the importance of the problem, emotional reasoning, assuming negative emotions really reflect the truth or reality, labeling should statements, personalization and blame, holding myself personally for something I'm not responsible. In other words, when we're depressed or when we have fear or we have anxiety, the first thing we need to do as spiritual people is recognize we're human, look into our mind and what am I thinking that's causing me this struggle, causing me this pain, identifying what's happening here. As soon as I can identify what's happening here, I'm also being in the present moment, which where miracles happen. That's where God interacts with us and we with God or the universe, because we can't transcend time, so we have to be in the present moment. So now our thoughts, my thoughts, would take me into the future instead of keeping me in the now. But when I started to come into the now and started to move into my heart, now the objective truth was, boy, this is a good thing. I'm seeing what's the reality of the situation. And objective love, I realized I was judging myself. I was condemning myself. I was taking language that was used against me way back in my past and using it against myself. So I'm judging myself. And can you see what happened? All these things I just told you created situations where my past and the future were colliding together in a way that, of course, I can't handle that. Of course, I'd get overwhelmed because I'm not in the moment. It's in the moment where God, the universe, high power, whatever you want to call that being or existence, can be present to us. And when we open our hearts in the moment to whatever pain we're going through and say, please help me, God, I can't, you can, I'm going to let you. In that moment, we have millions of moments throughout the day that if we turn to this high power, we open ourselves as human beings, being flawed, fractured, wounded. We open ourselves up to the healing power of the universe, to the healing power of God, to the healing power of our higher power. And we create or we participate in a miracle. In that experience, time can shift. Everything shifts where now God can come into the situation and do what they do best. Thank you for joining me again. So I went a little bit over today. I'm Dennis Vyzhikovsky, aka Dennis the Monk. Please subscribe because that helps me to increase my numbers so I can reach out to more people in various ways. And also, if you want to know when my next program is, which is on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you hit the bell button underneath this YouTube picture thing, it will notify you of the next scheduled event that I'll have. So most of them will be on Sunday the 11th, but they can happen any other time. And if you get the notification, you'll know when I come on live and you can watch me. Thank you for joining me on Dennis the Monk. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye now.